How does somebody look at you that small and tiny and
Well,
want to invest?
Listen, I was like 160 pounds at 10 years old, but I was just a chubby kid.
Oh, that's not so tiny.
No, I was a big kid. But, you know, people could take advantage of me. These are older kids. You know, these ain't kids my age picking on. These are older kids, teenagers. I was a streetwise. I didn't have a father. The two of me said, fight back. I learned from the streets, yeah.
What do you think Customato, so what do you think people were able to see in you at that time?
Well, listen, at that time when he first met me, I was a really bad apple. I've been arrested over 30 times back then. I was just incorrigible. I was unable to be a citizen of society. My whole lifestyle, my whole perspective in life was criminal.
But that's from what age to what age?
Since I existed.
Because that's just acting out.
Yeah, but that's just what, listen, if you didn't do that, you weren't from my neighborhood. Everyone did that. Everybody was robbing somebody. Everybody was always locked up. Everybody was always getting shot or cut or almost died or getting crippled.
Okay, so this is just law of the land.
Yeah, it was, exactly. No cops to protect you. Yes, if somebody like you, he'll protect you. If you rob for him and steal, he'll protect you. He'll look out for you.
How heavily patrolled were the streets back then with police?
Listen, the cops, they were brutal back then. Cops were brutal back then. People were being shot by cops.
Yeah,
I remember that happening.
Okay.
My mother's friend been shot. You know, my mother was in the game. You know, my father was a pimp. My mother was out there, and it was just, that was my life. That's just what I was accustomed to.
So now your mother passes when you are what, 16 years old, and you're already acting out.
No, I'm already probably national and world amateur champion by then.
From 14 to 16. But how did that happen?
I beat everybody in the world.
But how do you go from the kid that got the pigeon thrown at him?
Okay, so ever since that happened, I would fight every day, probably 2 times a day. I would just fight. Sometimes we'd fight for money. Yeah, you want to fight again? Put this on. This nigga will beat this nigga. So some of the guys would put money on each other and we would fight people.
And how do you go from that?
You know, I kept fighting people. I went to some institutions. I was fighting in there, street fighting, hitting people, trying to stab them. And then I got shipped to another institution. At first, it was an institution where you could really walk around the complex and stuff, and cops didn't have to have guns around you. And then
Minimum security.
Yeah, and then I got in trouble in there. And then they put me in maximum security, but on the same complex. But when you walk, you have to walk with security, with guns, you know, it was just crazy. And so there was somebody there that used to be a boxer. His name was Irish Bobby Stewart. He was a professional boxer, and he started teaching me how to box. Once I started getting my diploma from school and stopped fighting in the complex, he started teaching me how to fight. And on one occasion, a couple of months after he taught me, I accidentally broke his nose. And I was mad, thinking that he didn't want to work with me no more. He was mad because his wife said, I don't want you boxing him no more. So he took me to this other, which would be my mentor named Customato. He took me totally to another different level.
Irish Bobby took you straight to Cuss.
Absolutely.
And what was the conversation like then?
Well, they watched us box. And Cuss said to Bobby after we boxed, you know, because I was fighting real good. Bobby beat me around because he's 28 and I'm 14. And my nose is bleeding, but I'm fighting, I keep fighting. And they said, stop. I said, no, I want to do another round. They said, no, I said, stop. And then they're talking. He said, you sure he's 13? And Bobby said, yeah, he's 13. And he said, no, most of those kids, they're older, but they say they're younger, so they don't want to go to the big prison. He said, So he came to me and said, listen, you just tell me the truth. How old are you, 13? And I said, you have my identification, you have my birth certificate. I look at it, I'm only 13. But at 13, I was 200 pounds.
Well, and it's probably...
I've been in institutions for a while, so I started lifting weights. And I was already heavy since I started. At 12 years old, I'm 200 pounds.
He thought you faked the paperwork.
Yeah. And I'm fighting people, I'm knocking people out. 200 pounds, grown people, staff members.
All right, so clearly they saw something in you early.
He said I would be the youngest heavyweight champion. He thought he had said this.
He said it.
He said it. He said, I never saw anyone like him.
If he does everything that he's capable of doing, I tell you, he may go down as one of the greatest fighters of all time.
And then Customato passes in 80.
I turned pro 85, yeah, probably 85.
How does that feel? Like the guy that spots the talent and the guy that mentors you is kind of not there to guide. Because now at this point, you're amateur champion boxing of the world, your mom is gone, Cuss is gone. Who's around?
Let me just make this statement. Everyone you start with, you don't finish with.
Everybody can't go.
And some people who you think your friend is not your friend. Everybody you fight is not your enemy, and everybody that helps you is not your friend. So I realized that we have to navigate this from a personal perspective, you know, and myself.